I didn't even know what koalas sounded like until I looked it up just now, but I knew that that wasn't it.
What's up, good people? All right, so we're here today to do something a little different, and I want you to bear with me. If you guys like me, you watch a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of YouTubers who make car reviews, cars and coffee meet videos, car spotting videos, etc. Recently, a big name in the car enthusiast community on YouTube, Doug Demuro, put out a video saying why the Chevy SS was a total failure. So in today's video, we're going to react to that video, and we're going to break down the points that he might have gotten right, but more importantly, the points he got wrong. Let's do it. All right, good people. So we watched the video a couple times here, and if you guys are familiar with my channel, you already know my feelings, my personal feelings on the Chevy SS. Yes, I love the car. Yes, I think the car in many ways can outdo and outperform a Dodge Charger SRT. I think the suspension is really second to none. I think under the hood, it is a very, very capable car. What my personal problem with it is, it was designed to be a sleeper car when we're in an era where you can actually just have an all-out aggressive-looking four-door muscle car. So let's break down the reasons why Doug Demuro thinks the Chevy SS is a total failure, and let's put a couple things straight.
This car was a great value, but I think it was too expensive. Car enthusiasts interested in a stick-shift rear-wheel drive V8, they don't need automated parallel parking and a lot of the other stuff this car had. The Subaru WRX doesn't come standard with basically any of the features on this car, and the Subaru WRX is more popular than bragging about how you have an Android phone and you won't be seduced by Apple.
The car he compares it to, as far as price goes, is a car that's so far out of the same wheelhouse that you really can't compare it to, which was the Subaru WRX. Yes, it's a four-door car with more horsepower than it needs, I guess. But in reality, those two cars have such different markets that it would be hard to argue that the people who own those cars even know each other. Like, the cars themselves were built for such different reasons. One's an all-wheel drive car that's, made for rallying, and you can go, all up and down mountain curvy roads, whereas another one was built to, like, trick you at the stoplight and drag race you to the next stoplight. Comparing it to a Subaru WRX as far as price goes is really, it's disingenuous. Now, when you compare its price to what it should have been compared to, which is purely just the Dodge Charger, its price is pretty much in line with the Dodge Charger SRT. And if you take into account that this comes with a magnetic suspension, then it's definitely neck and neck with options as far as the Dodge Charger SRT. I do somewhat agree with him that there should have been a cheaper option. Because if you think about the SRT used to be like the tip top, before like Hellcats came along. It used to be the tip top, but then, you had this big market for the Scat Pack, the RTs, that was like almost everything that you can get with an SRT, just a few things that you could go without. Maybe they could have made a $37,000 version that would have been more in line with the Scat Pack, so that they could get more sales for that slightly below $55,000 market. So, I mean, for that, I kind of agree with him. What do you think, Edgar?
They're in the same price range, the SS as well as like the Challengers and Chargers.
Chargers, yeah.
But as far as looks, to me, this looks like a sports sedan.
No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. My only response to that would be that when you name a car an SS, which, you guys know, the SS has been a trim line for the better part of, 60 years, and you name a car an SS, it's almost like you're saying it is the trim line of all trim lines. It is the cream of the crop. The Chevelle, the Corvette. I mean, the Chevelle, the Camaro, the Impala, the Nova SS. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on of all these SS trim lines. The Silverado SS. Then for you to name a car SS, it would be the Avengers Infinity War of SS cars. So putting that name on it, they wanted this to be competitive with the American muscle car. They didn't intend for this to ignore the Charger and go after, you know, the BMW 5 Series. That wasn't their intent when they named the car SS and threw a Corvette motor under the hood.
And I think they could have gotten away with that name if they threw everything at this car that the fans wanted from an SS.
And see, that's the part that I think we as enthusiasts on the Chevy SS side and the Impala side, and I kind of lump us all together. So like there's us, you know, B-Body 96 Impala fans who are fans of the SS, and then the SS fans themselves. Again, y'all know my personal issues with the car, but I am a fan of the car nonetheless. I'm an American muscle guy. Now, we can talk about what's under the hood all day long, but at the end of the day, what it lacked was styling. Let's just agree to disagree on that point. Let's talk about Doug Demuro's second reason as to why the Chevy SS was a total failure.
Chevy never marketed this car. They never made any ads for it, really, and you basically had to find out about it through word of mouth. Chevy has used the SS name as a high-performance trim level on dozens of cars throughout the last 50 years, and it's almost like they didn't want to bother coming up with a real name for this car, so they just decided they would use some leftover SS badges and leave it at that.
Honestly, man, he's kind of right. I mean, Chevy put a half measure into this car to begin with. You know, we took over the Holden car that was already a badass muscle car in Australia, brought it over and said, let's just slap an SS badge on it. That way we don't fully piss off the Impala fans that we promised in 2013 that we would give them a rear-wheel drive Impala, and we decided to go ahead and give them a front-wheel drive 4-cylinder Impala. Let's give them this. They'll be quiet. They'll leave us alone, and we'll be able to continue our deal with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. When they did that, they did not give this SS or Impala, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it is the same body as the Caprice in Canada. When they did that, they didn't give this car any advertising. It was such little advertising that you would have had to been looking for it to find it. I remember the only time I actually saw a commercial for it was during NASCAR. No, I don't watch NASCAR. I just happened to be watching NASCAR for a brief moment somewhere I was at. But that's when I saw a Chevy SS commercial. And I didn't even know they had Chevy SS commercials until then. I mean, this car, not only did they build it to be a sleeper, which was a mistake, but they marketed it as a sleeper. Like they were sleepy about advertising it. Its whole persona was sleeper. Like, you don't even know this car exists. What do you think, man?
Makes me wonder, why didn't they just name this the new Impala and then just rename the Impala sedan that they use for rental cars something
the Lumina,
else?
the
Like,
Chevy
why didn't
Lumina.
they just
the
at
Corsica.
least...
Yeah.
They could have tried a lot harder with the marketing. And you're right, I think they're just somehow got in this panic mode where they're like, we got to give them some type of sports muscle car just so they're, you know...
They'd leave us
not
alone.
Rioting in the streets because they didn't get their Impala they've been wanting for
that
over
we
20
promised
years.
too. That we promised them, and I think, you know, if the current body style Impala had come out and they never initially promised that it would be rear wheel drive, I think a lot of people would have just like, yeah, Impala's still, you know, in the shitter as far as
why make
cars.
that promise and then fall back on it?
Let's get to Doug Demuro's third point.
We live in a world now where people don't want subtle cars. The SS appeals to those of us who like sleeper cars that are fast but don't really look like it. But that is a dying breed.
If you read the comments to my top 5 reasons to bring back a real Impala, you know, I pissed off a lot of SS enthusiasts. Again, I like the car, but we have to acknowledge the faults in the car. And I think Doug Demuro is actually right in this particular point, that it has boring styling. It looks like a Chevy Malibu. It's taken a body style from the 2008 Pontiac G8. 2008. It's 2018. The car just, it was built to be a sleeper, but we don't live in a sleeper world anymore, man. Dodge is literally thinking of new ways to make their cars look more insane. You know, all right, let's just make it fucking lime green. You know, let's make it purple. Add a wide body, but it's already like super wide. I don't care. Add a wide body. You know what I mean? Let's put vents in and out the hood. Let's make it black. Let's do whatever we can. Let's make a car that pops a wheelie, you know? They're trying to do whatever they can to make their cars look crazier, and it's gobbling up in the market. Now, you know, Doug Demuro states that the last 3 years of the SS, or I guess the only 4 years of the SS, they've on average sold 3,000 cars a year. Do you know how many cars Dodge sold of the Charger just last year in its lowest selling year? 88,000. 88,000 units in its lowest Charger year yet. And that's only because the Challenger sales have been going up, and you got a lot of people just switching over to Challenger out of Charger. But 88,000 compared to 3,000. I guarantee you, if both cars are comparable under the hood, then the only difference is the appearance. I mean, if Chevy had tried to at least, you know, take the same frame, but add a wide body kit or just something to make it look more menacing and aggressive and not look almost identical to a Chevy Malibu, I think would have helped it. And we, as Chevy enthusiasts, have to acknowledge that he might be right. What do you think, man?
Aside from the fact that it seems like they just kind of threw this car on the market just to say they put some type of fast car on there, they didn't really put a whole lot of effort into it. It's a nice looking car. It's fast. You know, it's not bad looking on the outside, even though it's a sleeper.
No, it's not bad.
It still looks nice.
It's not sexy. It's not bad looking. It's a decent looking sedan. Again, if you compare it to a BMW 5 Series or especially an Audi A6, I think more is what you could compare it to. You know, from a exterior styling standpoint, yeah. It looks cool, you know, like there's nothing wrong with how it looks, but it doesn't look sexy. It doesn't look crazy. It doesn't just like scream even when it's turned off. We've had the Challenger for, I don't know, a couple months now, and we haven't even driven 1,000 miles, but I can tell you, I've been, you know, signaled at stoplights more times than I can count on my hands. By the, you know, people just like giving me like the thumbs up or like, yeah, you know, just from it just sitting at a stoplight. It just screams aggression. It screams like just sexiness. And the SS does it. Now, I've been reading a lot on like Facebook forums and car enthusiast forums that, you know, especially on Instagram, people are pissed off about this video that Doug Demuro put out. I get it. The title alone, you know, it's shocking. But at the same time, like I wanna distinguish the video and the points he made, because he makes some valid points. But I will also say, like me personally, I'm a fan of Doug Demuro. I think he knows his stuff, but I also think that he's a little harsher on American brand cars than he is on German brand cars and Japanese, but mostly German brand cars. I feel like Doug just has a certain bias against American-made cars. I remember when he had Street Speed 717 on with his Hellcat, when he did the Hellcat review. You could just hear the language he used in describing the Hellcat. It almost was comparable to like the language you use in describing like a dumb football jock in high school. However, I will say in this video, yeah, he kind of makes some points. You know, the fact that there was no Chevy stamp on the engine cover, or even just an LS stamp or LS7 or whatever it's got in it, you know, on the engine cover, or, you know, SS on the engine cover. I mean, it didn't even have, it just has V8. V8, what is, if like that, like remember when you couldn't get the cereal you wanted and your parents got the cereal at the bottom shelf and it was just in a bag and it just said cereal? That's literally what they did. It was just like cereal.
Frosted Bites.
Frosted, you know? So, I mean, there's little things like that, you know, not putting, you know, SS on the seals. Look, you guys named the car SS. At least put SS everywhere on the car.
Every SS option ever.
Everywhere,
in one car.
you flip the visor down, SS, it's like a 3D hologram, SS, like, yeah, it was just, they clearly just took the Holden, stripped it of its, badges, shipped it over to America, said, look, it's got a Corvette motor, leave me alone. That's kind of what they did, But I will say, I like Doug Demuro. I think he knows his stuff. Obviously, we have to admit, the car is a failure. I mean, if it's only sold 3,000 units, a year, compared to what it should have been competing with, the Dodge Charger, which sold over 90,000 units every year except for last year where it sold 88,000 units. There's something wrong there.
I'm not an economist or anything like that, but it seems to me like they would just be losing money on this. Like, the money they spent to bring the cars out and to do any small design changes on this one, they could have used that money and put that back into the development of not just the Impala that they promised, but even just another car.
I honestly think that if they had made a true effort, if they made a true effort to make a real Impala, it would be selling like gangbusters right now. We would have saw a steep decline in Dodge Charger sales, that matched up with an incline of Chevy Impala SS, or even if they just called it SS, whatever, But if they made an actual, like the vents, they don't work, The vents on the, Hellcat hood, those are working vents. Little stuff like that, like if they made an effort, made it wider, made it aggressive, made it look angry. I always thought like it would have been so cool, to see some of the styling cues from the Camaro, especially the newest Camaro, in a 4-door, Grand Coupe type of way, like, and then call that the SS or call it the Impala SS or whatever, like I feel like you would really see, like that would be something, and then when it's sitting in the rear wheels are just sitting fat, and thing just looks like a snake or a pit bull or something, like that would garner attention, and that would get enthusiasts buying the car that had an amazing suspension and an awesome motor. Just there isn't even if you compare it to the 96, because I've heard this many, many times before that the 96 Impala was a sleeper car too. But in my opinion, the 96 Impala was extremely aggressive looking. No, it wasn't a Charger, but that was a decade before the Charger came out, and we just weren't there yet from a design perspective. But, when you looked at that 96 Impala back in, the mid-90s, it looked aggressive. It looked menacing and scary. And when it was rolling, it just looked like the Black Mamba just rolling down the street,
I think it looks like a cockroach.
You think it looks like a cockroach?
A fast one.
A fast cockroach. All right, let's close this video out. So, I think Doug Demuro overall he's right. I mean, and at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. The car is a failure. The title kind of clickbaity in that, it's going to rile up certain people automatically just because of they own the car, And now they're saying something that says total failure about the car they own.
I think what it is that he's saying it's not a total failure in that it's a good-for-nothing car. It's definitely a total failure in the way it was brought into the market and sold, and what it was like. What it's trying to do, it failed at that. However, it's not a bad car. It's still a
great car.
Still a good car.
Yeah. And the fact that there's still some brand new sitting on lots not sold, again, speaks back to his point, which is, again, a little clickbaity, but kind of true. It failed. But it failed not because of the car. It failed because of Chevy. Maybe that's the end all point. It failed because of Chevy, not because of the car. Yeah. Anyway, this has been Taj and Cars. Please leave your comments in the box below. I know you will. Guys, I'm with you. I like the car. So you don't have to convince me as to why the car is great. I know the car is great. But make sure I hear your comments in the box below. We're going to still show Doug Demuro some love because he does love cars. And yeah, he's not the best on American cars, but he's still a car guy overall. But anyway, this has been Taj and Cars. You gonna do it? Peace.
All right, so the car is from Australia. And you know what else is from Australia?
Kangaroos.
Yes.